Yehuda Amichai. In this summer of wide open-eyed hatred and blind love, I'm beginning to believe again in all the little things that will fill the holes left by the shells. Soil, a bit of grass, perhaps after the rain, small insects of every kind. I think of children growing up, half in the ethics of their ancestors and half in the Torah of war. The tears now penetrate into my eyes from the outside, and my ears invent every day the footsteps of the messenger of good tidings. This summer, our people has been shaken, and we are not a people easily shaken. Over Labor Day weekend, I went to a family wedding. A cousin I rarely get to see congratulated me on my new position here at Holy Blossom. She is a strategist with the U.S. Navy, and so I laughed when she asked me if my work was stressful. I told her that it had been a hard summer and that I was struggling to find words of hope for my people, and that the high holy days were coming and I was writing my sermons, and that I do believe part of our job as rabbis is to provide our people with some measure of hope. And so I asked her for insight from where she sits, from what she knows. And with a drink in her hand and her party dress on and her warm smile, she got very serious, and she looked me in the eye and she said, "Yael, the world is a very dangerous place right now, and the enemy is here. Our people has been shaken, and we are not a people easily shaken." I was uniquely shaken when I received a letter this summer from a wonderful young congregant in her 20s. She is thoughtful and she is bright. She is compassionate. She is the product of the Toronto Jewish community and of Holy Blossom Temple and of a committed family active in Jewish life. With her permission, I will share an excerpt of this letter. Dear Rabbi Splansky, because I have felt connected to you through many years and many good experiences, I wanted to write to you personally to explain a decision that I've made regarding my membership at Holy Blossom this year. It's been such an insane month in the world, and I know I'm in good company when I say I've been going through most days with a bit of a broken heart. The situation in Israel/Palestine has certainly reached a new level of distress, and the media and social media messages portraying the conflict have been difficult to digest. Over the past 5 or 6 years, I have come to be quite critical of Israel. In mainstream Jewish circles, I have felt stigmatized, isolated, and at times very alone. I have experienced a crisis of identity, so to speak, in trying to reconcile the Israel-centric Judaism I grew up with and with the anti-military and social justice values I have come to on my own. Rather than feel embraced for exploring a diverse vision of Judaism, I have felt pushed away from the Reform community. UJA campaigns warn that university campuses and Jews who question Israel's leadership are new threats. Conferences cancel questioning or critical speakers, and birthright leaders teach young Jews like me how to fight their friends in the social media war against Israel. Pervasive discourses like these paint anything other than unwavering support for Israel as inherently anti-Jewish and institutionalized a fear of diverse thought within the Jewish community. She concludes, "This year, my hope is to attend Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur services somewhere that is more welcoming to Jews with Jewish identities that are not so Israel-centric. Spending time with my family between services will be equally important for me. I mean it sincerely when I say that it would be wonderful to return to Holy Blossom one day. I hope that the time will come when the temple is more ideologically and financially committed to social justice for all peoples and more open to diverse visions of Judaism. I met with this young congregant who seeks justice, who seeks peace, who seeks a place among her people and among global citizenry. Because her rabbis and teachers and parents rightly taught her that every human being is created in the image of God, she struggles now to withstand the gap between universalism and particularism. For the moment, she wants a Judaism without Israel. For the moment, she wants Jewish religious expression without a Jewish state. Now, while the thought of it makes me shudder, I appreciate that she hasn't come to it easily, and that she needs our support and she needs our attention, and that she speaks for many others of her generation as well. Our sages teach that God has two primary attributes, din and rachamim, judgment and compassion. During these days of judgment, God reconciles between the two. And we too, created in the image of God, we also carry these two attributes around with us every day, reconciling between them, but especially on this day of Yom Kippur. We call up rachamim, compassion. Of course, we mourn for the innocent. Of course, we feel deep pain and anguish at the death of Palestinian children caught in the struggle. If we are not able to feel that pain sincerely, then we are at risk of losing our own humanity, God forbid. We can make room for them in our prayers. And we call up din, judgment, discernment. And we don't apologize for being Israel-centric. We do not apologize for Israel's existence. We stand by our right to a Jewish state in the land of our ancestors. And we don't apologize for our success and survival there either. We don't apologize for the Iron Dome. We dare not think of what this summer would have been without it. God forbid. The letter that I just shared with you from a struggling young Jew on this side of the ocean is matched by letters that I've received this summer from young Jews in Israel who also struggle. In the first week of the war, I called to mind all those Shin Shinim, those wonderful young emissaries that have come to spend a year with us here at Holy Blossom Temple and at the Leo Beck Day School. It's a wonderful program conceived and founded by our own Michael Diamond. And I wrote to these young people because I carried them with me in my mind all summer and I wanted them to know that. I wrote, "Dear Rosie, dear Hili, dear Bar, dear Tzlil, dear Yaniv, dear Mor, dear Maya, dear Alon, dear Mai, dear Or, dear Gal, dear Geffen, dear Ma'ayan, dear Tali. Your very names are beautiful. Dew, wave, vine, wellspring, myrrh, oak, light. Your very names are the names of the land and the sea beside the land and the waterways that work beneath the land, the sacred land of Israel. We miss you. We delight in memories of you from when you are with us, simple memories of laughter and child's play, memories of good humor and good intentions, memories of real connection, seeing in your faces the faces of Am Echad, hearing in your voices the humanity and the complexity of Israel. We worry for you. Are you safe? Are your loved ones taking shelter? Are you fearful? Are you angry? Are you able to sleep at night? If we could wrap our arms around you from over the ocean, we would. We'd hold you in our embrace. We wouldn't say, "Don't worry, it'll be okay." But we would hold you tight, and we would say, "We are here with you. We are here with you. We actually love you. Even if we don't really know who you are since you were with us, we still love you for who you were then. We love you for giving a year of your precious lives to us. We love you for sharing yourselves wholeheartedly with us and for representing the face of Israel to our children. We are blessed by you still. You are the young faces of leadership and courage, compassion and hope. All the eyes of the diaspora look to you for inspiration. Or Chadash al Zion Ta'ir. If ever a new light were to shine on Zion, it will be because you make it so. V'nizkechu lanu mehera la'oro. If ever we are deserving of its light, let it be now. We know that our destiny is wrapped up in yours. We understand that although we live our lives apart, ultimately ours is one shared story, the story of an eternal people walking through history together. And we are grateful for you. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, we are proud of you, and we thank you for the good that you are and the good that you do, and for the strength that you bring to Israel and to world Jewry. During the summer, when I was feeling low, I would pick up one of those emails that one of these terrific young people sent our way. I'll share just some of the excerpts with you now. The first from Mai Levi. It's Mai. Shalom, everyone. I hope you are well. I left Toronto two years ago, but it felt like just yesterday. I think about you every day, and I talk about my amazing year at Holy Blossom. I wish I could see you again, even just to be with you for a moment. When I came to Holy Blossom as a young emissary, I tried to give you the full picture of Israel from my point of view, to make sure that you love our beautiful country with no conditions, as I do. As you know, these are not easy days for us. Our family and friends are taking part in this operation. They are being injured, unfortunately, even dying in the battle against Hamas. Soldiers like me, citizens who live next to the Gaza Strip, and most of the country now is under rocket attack. The IDF does its best to take Hamas apart without hurting innocent people. We do the best we can to bring peace in a peaceful way, but it can never be nice when you are in a war. I got a group of friends together on my base to pray with me every night. In the last month, my thoughts and prayers are for peace, that my dear ones will come back safely from the battlefield, that our days will be full of joy and our nights will be peaceful and quiet as they should be, that no mother will cry, that no father will need to worry. And then she quotes a bit of Talmud for us, Mai Levi. She says, the most amazing thing in the light of this battle is that in such a hard time we can feel and understand how true is the phrase, Kol Yisrael arevim ze lazeh. All Israel is responsible for one another. I am proud to be Israeli, proud to be Jewish, proud of our army, and proud of this country. I couldn't ask for a better place to be born, to grow up, or to be even now. Israel is my country. Israel is your country. It belongs to all of us, to the whole Jewish people, and we must support it. Please join your prayers to mine. Pray for peace, and that the soldiers will come back safe from this operation. Another from Or Shalem. Yael, amazing to hear these words from you. I appreciate all the love we're getting from our friends at the Holy Blossom community. We are thinking about you too. We thank you for reminding us that as soldiers in the IDF, we are not fighting just for the state of Israel. We are fighting for the Jewish people. And we tell our friends this too. You are reminding us of the meaningful year we had with you. We came home after that year as Jews and as Zionists, prouder than when we originally came, and it means so much to us during these days especially. And there are other gems here, but just one more from Yaniv Cohen, who was called up for Miluim as a medic on the front lines. And he was constantly emailing and tweeting even from the front lines. I've been posting nonstop since the beginning of this operation. I believe that all of you whom I met in Toronto, lived with, worked with, and even if I only spent a little time with you, I feel you understand the significant impact that you have on the surroundings here in Israel now. I have been called to the reserve forces, and as a combat medic, I can tell you that I have treated far too many injured soldiers and the dead as well. These fighters who have given their all, even their lives, to defend their families and their nation, and by that I mean your nation and your eternal homeland, they deserve not to be called terrorists. This army that does every single act in order to protect Israeli civilians and try to minimize harm on the Palestinian side, they deserve to get a better voice in the world. This time is when we need you. We need you now, your support and your power, to be our emissaries. The contrast between the first letter from this side of the ocean and these other letters that come from the thick of the battle in Israel this summer has everything to do with what Parker Palmer calls standing in the tragic gap. Parker Palmer is an educator and an activist. He describes the ability to hold the tension between what is, to endure the pain of what is and the darkness right there on the one hand, and on the other hand, to reach for what we know is possible. He clarifies, what is possible are not wish dreams or fantasies. What is possible is only possible in our minds because we have already seen examples of it. We know what a world at peace can look like because every now and again we see it. We know what sharing of abundance can look like because from time to time we know it. With our own eyes we've seen it. We know what forgiveness and kindness look like because we have seen it time and again. Generosity too. And so we have to stand in this place, in this tragic gap, because now and again we need to emerge from what is and imagine what could be. Parker Palmer warns that it is human nature to fall over to either one side or the other, and each one comes with a risk. To jump too far over into reality is to fall into what he calls corrosive cynicism. Corrosive cynicism is when we say, this is the way things are, this is the way they've always been, nothing will ever change. And to jump too far over into the world of what could be, what should be, is to fall into what he calls irrelevant idealism. And Palmer plays it out for us. He says, corrosive cynicism and irrelevant idealism sound like they are polar opposites, 180 degrees apart from one another, but in truth, they take us to the same place. They take us out of the center, out of the place where action happens. They disengage, they disconnect us from our rightful place in the gap, where we must stand if we are going to move things along. So how do we stand there in that tragic gap? How do we withstand it? Palmer is a Quaker, and so he uses religious language. You'll recognize it. He says, in order to stand tall and courageously in the tragic gap between reality that is and the reality that could be, that must be, we must dig down and cultivate an open heart and an open mind and open eyes and open ears and an open soul too. And this self-searching, which happens very privately, must happen against the backdrop of the communal, he says. An examined life, as Socrates called it, must be pursued within community, because we need one another to help us see ourselves better, to hear ourselves better, to self-assess and self-correct. Why is it called the tragic gap? Tragic not only because of the sadness of that place in between, but sadness also in the Greek sense of the word, that it is part of the human condition. It is inevitable. By definition, we human beings must grapple with that place in between. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King lived there and died there. Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin lived there and died there. And our young Shinshinim are living there and living there, day after day. And I want each and every one of us to join them there in that tragic gap. That is our place too. Even if we choose to make a safe home for ourselves here in Canada, we must take our place in the tragic gap because it is growing larger, and so we must feel ourselves compelled to plant our feet there. My friends, it seems that we are at a critical moment in Jewish history now. Exactly now is when we determine if Israeli Jews and diaspora Jews are one people with one narrative or two peoples with two stories unfolding separately. One family or two, one destiny or two. I believe that the Jewish people is an eternal people. Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema. I believe this with a perfect faith, that the Jewish people will endure, come what may. The only question then is, will it be with us or without us? Will it be with your daughter and with my son or not? Will we learn to plant our feet in that tragic gap and stand proudly with our people, come what may? These days, we feel we are in need of protection, of the protection that comes from within and also from on high. So let me conclude now with these precious words of the Hashkivenu prayer, which we only offer at nightfall, when the shadows come and we do not know what might be lurking. When fear might overtake us, we pray, Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chayim. Grant that we may lie down in peace, Adonai our God, and raise us up, O Sovereign, to life renewed. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield us from hatred and plague. Keep us from war and famine and anguish. Subdue our own inclination to evil. O God, our guardian and helper, give us refuge in the shadow of your wings. Ushmor tzeitenu uvoenu l'chayim u'l'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Guard our comings and our goings, that now and always we may have life and peace. Baruch ata Adonai, shomer amo Yisrael la'ad. Praised are you, Eternal One, whoever guards your people Israel.